difference that your business needs. AppSite Tech are here to take your business to the next level. No matter how simple or how sophisticated your requirements are, our technicians will work with you to create a bespoke website and app for your organisation. Call us now on 07538081212 or visit appsitetech.co.uk and book your free consultation now.
Amigos.
رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all well today. Today we're going to be talking about mental health. Oh, sorry, just give me a second. I think we've got a caller already. Hello?
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. How are you today?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Can I ask who's calling and where you're calling from?
I'm Sister Tanzila. I'm calling from Stoke Newington.
Amazing. How's your rosa going today?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, it's good. I mean, the heat is so intense, so yeah. But other than that, alhamdulillah, it's okay.
Halfway through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. So I don't know if you're aware, but today we're going to be talking about, for the first half of the show, we're talking about mental health, and then we're going to be talking about why young British Muslim women struggle to find a partner in this country. Is there anything that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I wanted to actually talk about the second topic.
Amazing.
What time are you starting that discussion? Sorry.
3 o'clock, but that's all right. If you've called in early, that's amazing.
Okay. Yeah, so I just wanted to just really talk about how, I don't know, there's a lot of issues with, young Muslims in this country in terms of marriage and like looking for a spouse, a partner, because, obviously if you're from like a Asian background, a lot of the people tend to marry from their own countries.
Yeah.
So that's one issue. Although that's not so much as an issue now. I think there is some sort of parental pressure for some of these like young Muslims to kind of like marry from from their countries like India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, so I think that's one issue. There's a few others as well. I mean, if we're talking about just general young Muslims in this country, it's like where as long as if you've got a large social network, then it's a lot easier for people to find potential spouses. However, if you don't, then it becomes such a challenge. Like, where are you supposed to go to find somebody? And obviously, a lot of young Muslims want to do it in the correct manner and, not in a haram way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so I don't know. What do you think about that?
I mean, I feel like there is a disproportion from women to men, and I feel like women do struggle a bit more, which we'll be talking about in the second half of the show. But no, I definitely agree. It's because I feel like males obviously get pressured by their families or get encouraged to marry women from back home, and that plays a role in the disproportion, which is why there's 5 women to every man, which obviously makes it more difficult for women. I don't want to talk about it too much, but keep listening, and we'll definitely be touching on this after 3 o'clock in the second half of the show.
Okay, sure. I'll call in again later.
Amazing.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Would that be okay?
Thank you so much for calling in, though. And hopefully we can touch upon this a bit more and in more detail in the second half of the show. Inshallah.
Okay, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. So, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, we'll be talking about this in the second half of the show, hopefully. But in the first half, we'll be focusing on mental health, and also how our physical health plays a big role in our mental health. We will be having a guest calling in, hopefully, someone who's a professional who can give their insight into this. But before we get her to call in, I'd just like to introduce my co-host today. How are you?
Assalamualaikum, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Do you want to just tell everyone a little bit about yourself? And yeah, just tell everyone a little bit about yourself and talk a little bit about mental health, if you like.
My name is Khadija Ali. I'm 16 years old and I'm currently doing my GCSEs.
Oh, wait, sorry to interrupt. Can you just talk right into the mic? I'm not sure if they can hear you.
Okay.
No, it's so awkward when I have to interrupt. Sorry.
My name is Khadija Ali. I'm 16 years old and I'm currently doing my GCSEs. With regards to mental illness, I feel as though it's a very broad topic because it relates to everyone. Especially within me being from secondary school at the moment, you see a lot of people who you can tell that they have these issues, and it's within society that leads them to have mental illness. And I feel as though it isn't narrowed down to only people in secondary school. It goes all the way up to really adults and stuff. So you see a variety of people with mental illnesses, but the causes of this are different. And you see how they play a massive role. Society plays a massive role within
so you think
causing them.
So you think society plays a really big role in mental health?
Yeah, I think it's the pressure from society and the expectations we make which play a role in that, because it makes people feel as though they have to meet these expectations. They have to, and people try and do anything and everything to try and meet these expectations, which leads them to have this pressure.
I think we've got our caller on the line. Hello there, caller. How are you?
Assalamualaikum, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Would you like to state your name and where you're calling from?
My name's Nazira Nekiwala and I'm calling from London.
Amazing. How's your fast going?
Yeah, it's going really well, to be honest. To be fair, it does go a lot quicker when I'm at work, but no, do you know what? It's fine.
It's fine, yeah. Good.
How's yours?
It's going all right, you know. Halfway through, I didn't even realize until today that we've got only, I think, a couple weeks, or is it a week left?
No, 2.
I've lost count.
Yeah, it's gone by so quick. Yeah, it has gone really quick. I mean, but we are like nearly approaching the last 10 days of Ramadan, so guess we just have to make the most of it now.
Yeah, I mean, you sound really cheery and chirpy, to be honest. I feel like everyone's lost energy this month, so it's quite refreshing to hear someone who's still got their energy.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad I do, honestly. I don't feel that energetic, but
you sound it. Alhamdulillah. Yeah. So today's topic is obviously mental health. I don't know how much of the show you've heard. What would you like to talk about in regards to mental health?
To be honest, I was going to talk about health in general, not so much mental health. I think it's also important that we point out physical health too. Basically, I recently started working for the NHS, and it's kind of like welcomed me a little. Mental health is a really important aspect, but like I guess all form of health is. It affects our community in all senses, the olders and the youngers, like the males and the females. So basically, where I started working, it's a hospital that specializes in cancer patients.
Oh wow!
So they're coming for like chemotherapy day in day out to carry out treatment and things. It's just like the other day I was walking around and I helped a lady walk up the stairs, And I told her that there are like lifts available, but she insisted that God had given her feet to walk.
Wow.
Subhanallah, she was like
Subhanallah,
really
yeah.
grateful.
Amazing.
Yeah, and that kind of woke me up. Yeah, honestly, I thought to myself that she must be going through so much pain that we are unaware of, yet she's counting the blessings of Allah.
Yeah.
And yet you hear some people complaining all the time, which is probably why I sound so chirpy today. No, honestly, really and truly, we should be grateful for our health all the time. Like this Ramadan, I've heard about so many people being unwell or like passing away, for instance, like the famous Ali Banat. May he rest in peace, inshallah.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's just like a major topic that I want to discuss. Something very personal to me as well. I wanted to share a story like about my auntie, just to make everyone a bit more grateful about being here today. So like not so long ago, my dearest auntie, she passed away with cancer.
Oh no.
Honestly, she wasn't blood related, but she was family.
Yeah.
Like my
It's
auntie
still
was like my
hits you,
mom's
though.
best friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, she was like my mom's best friend, and she was always there. Like during my sister's wedding, she would stay up until late just to clean up for us.
Wow.
And like on Eid, she'll be the first to wish us. And like, especially in Ramadan, she would send over like trays of fryer, gallons of lassi, and like baskets of fruit.
Wow.
I know, honestly, she was amazing.
That's
She'd
so
like
sweet.
fill us. Yeah, she'd fill us with her words of motivation and encouragement. I do miss her this month, but I just hope that Allah grants her Jannah Firdaus.
Ameen. Yeah.
Yeah, but she was.
Yeah. Sorry.
No. So I was gonna say she was a perfect example of being patient throughout her illness.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it just shows how important it is for us to continue to keep like donating to charities like cancer charities as well.
Yeah.
So that they can carry out like further research to save like lives of our loved ones.
Yeah. I think it's really amazing how the more vulnerable people that you find in society seem to have more mental sort of strength than the rest of us. It's quite enlightening and empowering when you see that. And I can't imagine how it must be like for you. I mean, if you do this on a daily basis as part of your profession, that's just incredible.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, honestly, some people say it kind of like it puts you down, and like you feel miserable, like coming into work every day seeing sick people and that. But honestly, I absolutely love it. It just makes me more and more grateful, and it's just more rewarding to see that I'm helping those that are unwell. And inshallah, I can carry on doing that. And so we can all do it if we continue like donating as well to these charities and stuff.
Yeah.
It can go a long way, honestly.
Amazing.
Especially throughout the month of Ramadan, you are rewarded like a lot more for your efforts and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so there's so many people that are going through cancer these days. Not just cancer, there's so many diseases out there. Like you specified, there's mental health diseases that are really like important as well that we acknowledge.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a taboo topic, I feel like, in our community.
Yeah. I mean, it's so true. So we must like always supplicate for like good health and keep counting the blessings of God. To be honest, I read the other day that when a believer gets sick, the first thing that happens is that his sins are forgiven and his ranks are increased.
Amazing, yeah.
And I think that really like kind of woke me. I was like, do you know what? Like we feel sorry for people that are ill and stuff, but really, like in the eyes of Allah, they're just like a lot higher.
Yeah, it puts things into perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. We kind of like fail to realize sometimes the value of the favors upon us.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully we're given God can grant us that knowledge and understanding.
Inshallah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I mean, I just wanted to highlight like that about health, that it is important, whether it's mental health or not. I think it's just
a lot of people are going through it in our society these days.
Yeah, and
you hear about it all the time.
Yeah, it doesn't get talked about enough. Thank you so much for calling. Keep on listening, and hopefully we'll be touching upon this topic a bit more. I just wanted to say it's amazing what you do at work and everything.
Thank you.
And it's quite incredible how it affects you on a daily basis. I feel like the rest of us sort of forget what some people are going through because we're so busy with our daily lives and stuff. But thank you so much, Nazira, for calling.
It's okay. I just wanted to mention that you guys are doing an absolutely really good job as well.
Oh, thank you. We try.
And also, before I go, I just want to say my sister and her friends, they're doing like some fundraising for orphans. She set up a whole Just Giving page, and I just wanna give you guys the link for all the listeners out there who wanna make a difference to someone else's life. So it's www.justgiving.com/fundraising/orphan 2018. So I'll just repeat that for anyone that's writing it down. It's www.justgiving.com/fundraising/orphan 2018.
Amazing. And that's fundraising for orphans, right?
Yeah, they're supporting orphans where they're most needy.
Okay. Awesome. So for any of our listeners, if you'd like to donate, that's the link. And please do go on and donate online.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, Nazira.
You guys too. It's a pleasure speaking to you.
Amazing.
That's all right.
Thank you so much.
All right,
thank you for calling in. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Now. Amazing. So that was actually quite enlightening, I think. I feel like mental health is such a taboo topic that doesn't get talked about, not just within the Muslim community, but just in general within society. People sort of avoid the issue.
Yeah, it's really nice to actually see how her job plays a massive role in actually like acting as an eye-opener.
Exactly.
And all of us, and I think it's actually really nice to share those personal experiences as well.
Yeah,
because it
definitely.
acts as an eye-opener for us as well, and we get to see a little
just
bit
a
of
reminder. She also mentioned Ali Banat. For those of you who don't know, Ali Banat was a young Muslim brother who just recently passed away. He had cancer. I think he was given 7 months to live, and he was quite a wealthy person, and he donated all of his wealth to charities before he passed away. And I think he really touched upon the younger generation a lot because he completely changed his mentality. When he got the illness, rather than getting down about it, he saw it as a gift, which, I think we've got another caller on the line. Let's just see who that is. Hello, caller. How are you?
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. This is Zarvesha calling from London.
Amazing, Zarvesha. How are you? How's your rosa going?
I'm okay, alhamdulillah. It's going okay. How about you guys? How are you?
Yeah, it's going all right.
It's gone much better compared to the first few fasts now.
Yeah, that's true. But I think we're really coming to the end now. It's really hitting me that Ramadan's finishing up.
Oh, no, yeah.
You guys are doing such a good show, mashallah. And I think the topic is so interesting. And people don't often talk about it. So well done for actually choosing it and being there to talk about it.
Oh, thank you, Zarvesha. Is there anything you'd like to touch upon the topic of mental health today?
I think it's really important because a lot of, I don't know if it's Asian culture or if it's just, Asian households, but a lot of people sort of overlook it, as you guys, see. I think physical problems are seen as way more severe, by Asian parents, I think. Whereas mental issues like depression, I think depression is such a key problem, but we don't see it as an illness. And I think obviously there needs to be more awareness about it. People need to know about it way more. I think it's really important that we address it and we start speaking about it more. And it's people who are suffering and who are going through it. I think they obviously need to understand as well that they are not victims of anything. They shouldn't be embarrassed about it. Instead, they need to be treated, and they need to openly, as they would if they had any other physical issue. Like for example, God forbid, but if I had cancer, I would go to the doctors and I'd get it treated. In the same way, if I have depression, I shouldn't feel embarrassed to go to the doctor and tell them that, I have depression. Can you please help me out?
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that's the
Yeah. Thank you so much. We will be talking about that. That's actually a really great point that you've made. Thank you so much, Zarvesha. Stay
no
tuned
worries,
in,
and
carry on listening.
Once again, I would like to say that you guys are doing a really, really good show. So well done on that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Positive
Okay.
encouragement's always helpful. That little boost of confidence.
Yeah, definitely. Always.
Always, right? Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay tuned in, and hopefully we can touch upon your topic a bit more.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. I think Zarvesha made a really good point, actually. Because there's no physical symptoms of mental health, people are often
don't consider it as an
actual illness. Yeah, that's so true. And they either feel ashamed to go and get help for it, or they're either made to feel ashamed to go and get help for it. That's really amazing that the stuff that our callers are actually
but it's nice to see, because you see people within society, they do have mental illnesses and everything, but then it's nice to hear how you're thinking forward and you're trying to think of what you can now do and trying to go and get this treated, instead of just sitting there and thinking, I have depression and it is an illness. So just like how we would treat any other illness, it's nice to hear how people actually consider and that it should be treated.
Definitely. I think also what Sister Zarvesha said about there not being any physical symptoms,
it makes it
yeah, sorry, what were you going to say?
I think it makes it more difficult to like identify it as well, and because it's mental illness, I don't know, the individual who does have it, I feel as though they're not going to find it very easy to even accept that they have it.
Definitely. I think it's because of how society sees mental health. A lot of people, I personally feel like, speaking from not my personal experience, but from friends or close people, they find it quite hard to admit to themselves that they have a problem in the first place. But I feel like it's becoming a bit more easier to talk about it compared to when I was your age, for instance. It was much more of a taboo topic than it is now. Although it still is, it was much more of a taboo topic back then, to the point, and especially being Muslims, if you even think about mentioning that you've got anxiety or depression or anything along the lines of that, most of the time you get encouraged to just pray. But it's the same thing, like if you're riding your bike and you fall and you break your arm, God forbid, you wouldn't be told just to go and pray. You would get help from a health professional to treat your physical symptoms as well. And I don't think people realize that there are symptoms of mental health, and it is a real illness.
I think I love that point that you made, because in Islam, as us being Muslims as well, it also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that he does not change anyone's situation unless he changes himself. So Islam teaches you as well that you need to go out there and you need to if you have a problem, you need to try and solve this problem. You need to try and get yourself treated, instead of always looking for praying, because you should pray, but you can pray as much as you want, you're still not going to get the result. You need to go out and do something for Allah
about it as well,
to help you as well.
Yes, definitely. I think also what people don't realize is a lot of the time when we feel tired and anxious and we think something's really seriously wrong with us, we don't realize how much of a big role physical health plays into our mental health. I know people who play a lot of sports and stuff will realize that when you do get encouraged to keep active, and eat healthier, keep active, keep exercising, because that does actually give you energy, and that helps your mental health as well. Especially living in this country. This is so weird to mention, but because there's not ever any sun, a lot of people are deficient in vitamin D and stuff. And that makes you feel really low on energy, and you constantly feel tired. Anemia is quite common as well. I know me and my sisters all suffer from anemia. Bear in mind, I'm not a health professional. This is information that I've got from my GP and from personal issues. But anemia is also another common deficiency that people suffer from. And all of these things make you feel tired, constantly like you have no energy. And something, such a small issue, because it plays such a big role in your daily life. For instance, you find it hard to get up from work. Oh, we've got another caller. Let's have a look. Hello, caller. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Would you like to state your name and where you're calling from?
Hi, Safida Aslan. I'm calling from East London.
Okay, amazing. So for those of our listeners, this is our guest who is a health professional. What sort of things do you think play a role in mental health, especially considering physical activeness?
In my opinion, I think it's a lot to do with just sort of maybe lifestyle and perhaps the sort of backgrounds people come from, and it's all to do with awareness of these sort of issues in the first place to start with, obviously. Being Asian myself, I'm quite fortunate. I come from a family who are quite understanding of, day-to-day things, life issues that can affect someone's mental health, that can play a part in someone's daily life. So I've got quite a good supportive background. And I find that a lot of people who don't have that will eventually end up suffering because there's not enough people in their life, perhaps, or there are people in their life, but they just don't recognise the symptoms, if you like.
Especially because women, how do you think it differs for women in comparison to men?
Oh, if we're referring to our maybe culture again, I think it's quite obvious that we all understand that in our culture, women are expected to do more. There's sort of different expectations on them, and perhaps more, if you like. There's more pressure on women. Like you're going to work, you're coming home, you're doing your family life. There's a lot of that in play, and also just general things physically. Do they look after themselves enough? Are they eating the right things? Are they getting the right sort of social time, if you like?
Yeah, definitely. So part of your profession means that you have to stay active a lot, and I'm sure you encourage everybody else around you to stay active a lot as well. How do you think that affects mental health? Because I don't think people realize there is a link between the two.
Oh, definitely. Exercise is brilliant for the mind. And when you read about stress and, when you just, even if you just Google depression, for instance, one of the first things they'll say to you is exercise is very important. Healthy eating is very important. So I think it's just willpower and the willingness to actually just get up and do something. If people are willing to do that. It's quite easy to just get into this depressive state. Like I said, when you don't have the right surroundings, the right support around you. And in my opinion, I think that is one of the biggest factors that can make someone become a lot worse in their state. And in terms of obviously looking after yourself, health-wise, we do have the facilities. We have leisure centres, for instance. There's all women sessions. There's lots of things out there that we can actually do. But I think fundamentally it just goes back to the root of the family network. And if you have that, I think it's understanding as well. I mean, my mum's, she's about 75 now. She's from Pakistan. She's never been educated, if you like. But she does educate herself in the sense that she'll watch the news, she'll read, she'll listen to the radio. So she'll listen to discussions and she'll keep up to date with the news. So she understands mental health, and she understands that it can affect someone really badly. So if I'm down, for instance, she will just say to me, what's wrong? Talk to me. You need to talk about it. You need to get it off your chest.
Yeah.
So it's just that basic understanding of mental illness, and that, it is okay to talk about it, and it's important to talk about it, and it's okay to cry,
Yeah, definitely, yeah. I think that's a really great point that you made about family and your support network, and especially encouraging our parents who are from maybe, not born here, born in Pakistan, India, or Bangladesh. They sort of have a different mentality, and I think it's important that we help them to realize that they do need to make themselves aware of mental health and that it is a serious issue.
Yeah, but also
definitely.
Yeah. But also in general, I feel as though it's the people you surround yourself by as well, and they can play a massive role in how to deal with it. And if you just have someone there
definitely.
to talk about this issue with, it just it's like it helps you as well.
Yeah,
it takes off the stress. Yeah.
Yeah. What sort of
Definitely.
advice would you give to young girls and women in particular on how they can help to improve their mental health, or how they can basically help themselves to not go down the negative road?
I think, in my opinion, and if I was talking to my younger sister, for instance, I'll probably say the same thing to her. I find one of the biggest problems at the moment is obviously mobile phones, and the availability we have to, the media.
Yeah.
Because when I was growing up, I didn't have all that, so I didn't have all these issues that we're now surrounded by. So, for instance, bullying on the internet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's even like the smallest things that we think, okay, nothing's going to happen. But, they are long-term dangers involved if not used properly. So that's one thing I would say advice to sort of cut down on. Secondly, is just to make sure you're doing your regular exercise, eating well, eating in moderation, looking after your body, and, respecting yourself enough to look after yourself, basically. And, if there is issues, and there's always someone out there to talk to. I mean, the school I work at is fantastic. The topics we cover mental health quite a lot, and because we obviously recognise mainly an Asian school, and a lot of the girls, they appreciate it because they'll come back after the lesson and they'll have a one-to-one with you, and they'll discuss things with you just to get that advice that they might not get elsewhere.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
then they've got that knowledge to take away with them. And one of the biggest things is just to make sure that you're keeping yourself fit.
Amazing, yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much for calling in today. Hopefully we can carry on discussing your points in more detail. Are you fasting today?
I'm not today, no. It's my day off.
I was going to ask you how's your fast going, because I've been asking everyone.
No, I literally just came back from shopping and I just gulped a bit of water, and I got ready for the school.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much for calling in today. Stay tuned in, and hopefully we can have a chat again later on.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Enjoy the rest of the day.
Bye.
Bye.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Wow, that's actually a really great point what she made about family and support network.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know about the rest of you guys out there, but I actually forget what a big role it plays. I think it is really important that you have at least one person who you can talk to, whether it's a friend or a mentor, anyone at all, really. But you should always have someone to talk to about anything if you're feeling down and stuff.
Yeah.
So we've just got another call. Let's just have a look. Hold on a second. Hello, caller. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Can I ask where you're calling from?
Yep. My name's Naseem. I'm on the show with Arusa today from Personal Match UK.
Amazing. So we were going to have a little break between the two, but I think seeing as we've called, we will move on to our second topic, which is why young British Muslim women struggle to find a partner. Please do excuse us for jumping straight into the second topic, but I'm sure hopefully none of you guys will mind. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Assalamu alaikum everyone, my name is Naseem Muhammad and I'm the founder at Personal Match UK.
Amazing, wow. How long have you been doing this for then?
Around 20 years.
20 years, wow. So that's a hell of a lot of experience actually.
Alhamdulillah.
What would you say is the main reason why young British Muslim women in particular would struggle to find a partner?
I just think things have changed an awful lot. The social situation has changed. Years ago, for example, over 30 years ago when I got married, it was you just got chosen to marry your cousin or, someone your parents chose for you.
Yeah.
It really wasn't a personal choice at that time. It was more your parents' choice and you just had to go along with it.
Mm-hmm. It was more arranged.
So it was definitely arranged, yeah. So now parents know that they can't, without consenting, without communicating with their child, without consulting what they're looking for, it's not going to work. So and those days where a lot of mums were at home, so things have changed a lot. And if they were home, they had more social circles, they knew more other auntie Gs, they were mixing with people in the community. When I was really young, we used to go to different aunt houses every weekend for dinner in different places. So that doesn't really happen now. You just kind of go to work, come home. You might see somebody at a funeral, at a wedding, and everyone is just so busy with life. So all the social circles that used to be in place to help people recommend someone or even support them have all gone. So basically when I started matching back in 2001, I realized this and I thought, let's see, who I can help in the community. And I used to have these auntie Gs follow me about at different events I went because they knew that I was working in charity and I had a lot of connections with different people. So I thought, why not? It's going to help somebody out. It's going to help them find a partner. Yeah, I can put my thinking cap on. Let me figure out a few people. And once I started doing it, more and more people kept coming forward. And then I officially set up. It was called Complete Your Dream back then. But so many methods I've tried. I've tried the group events, the quiz nights, the matchmaking events, online, just everything. The only thing that seems to be working and it seems to be providing results is actually completing an interview with an individual person, looking at their lifestyle, what they want, how their parents have raised them, what kind of partner they're looking for, and then match them according to that. And that's why the journey, when you use our method of getting matched, inshallah, is not very long because you actually have specified what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Somebody's understanding what you want. And then you've got that security. So a lot of the girls that come forward to me say, I spoke to somebody online or I just got introduced to somebody random, but he wasn't actually divorced, he was still married, or, he wasn't serious, or he ended up marrying his cousin back home. So if there's no third person involved in that match, then you do find that you don't really have much of your own sort of respectful way of doing it, even if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
So the Islamic way is to have third person present, and we always have third person present, and obviously the consent of our elders, so anybody's parents would need to be involved. Obviously the first initial meeting is done by the couple themselves to make sure that, and I'm present at that meeting, to make sure that there is a bit of interest, there is a bit of intelligent connection, there is a bit of attraction, there is a bit of mindset connection, so that it's possible for that couple then to progress with each other. Whereas if that's not possible, then there's no point in taking it further. So I think that the kind of main thing to answer your question is really that we're living in different times in a different environment with, second, third generation British Muslims, which aren't going to think like my generation, because obviously my parents passed Allah Ta'ala Jannah 3 years ago now. So my generation will have a different way of thinking than my parents' generation. And obviously the youngsters now are looking to, and Islamically they have every right to communicate with someone, understand what lifestyle situation that's going to be, what kind of husband wife that's going to be, before they commit to getting married. It makes perfect sense.
How do you? So because obviously I'm sure you get a lot of people coming in looking for partners, do you feel you get more men or more women that come to you for help?
I think without being disrespectful to the men, I think we get an equal application for men and women. But because we have to go through an interview with me, it's more likely that girls will pass the interview than men will, just simply because girls are generally tend to be a bit more responsible at a younger age, and they're actually looking to get married. Whereas, again, I'm just going to be honest, some of the people that I interview, I don't feel that, especially some of the men, I don't feel that they're serious in settling down, or the requirements are unrealistic, or they're not working, or they're not, they're not in communication with their parents. So there's many reasons why we would more likely to reject a guy than accept a guy, and most likely to accept a girl. But again, for me, whoever comes into our arena and passes the assessment and wants to get matched, then there will be people to meet that person, because we do something called guaranteed matches. Okay. So if there isn't a match for you, then we don't take that person on.
Oh, okay. Also, what can you say from your personal experience working within this profession in regards to the proportion for men for women and women for men? What can you say about that?
Yeah, there's definitely obviously a high quantity of women going through the system to get married. But I think there's maybe more women, and the ratio, there's a lot more women to men as well out there. I mean, anybody who's been to an Islamic event or has been to an Islamic lecture will be able to see that all the rows right up to the back are women, and the first 2 rows are men. So it doesn't take rocket science to figure out there's obviously more women than men out there.
Yeah, I read somewhere that there's so it's like our caller mentioned when she first called in at the beginning of the show, and I mentioned that I read somewhere that a lot of the times there is, I think, 5 women to every man. How true would you say that is?
I would say it's higher than that. I
really?
think
oh wow.
The ratio, I'd probably say the ratio is probably 20 to 1.
Oh wow. Oh wow, that's worse than what I read.
That's like
read
4
about
times.
things. Yeah, so why do you think that is though? Why do you think there's more women that are struggling to find a partner in comparison to men? What are some of the reasons, do you think, for that?
Just what I mentioned to you earlier on, that if they're not a serious candidate, if they're not looking to settle down, if they're not in employment, they haven't got themselves educated, if they don't have a British passport, many reasons. And of course, I'm not saying that, I'm not just putting the blame on them. I'm sure there's, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, I know there's a lot of really decent men out there as well as lots of decent women out there. Yeah. But if there's going to be maybe, somebody's drinking, or somebody's got, a different type of a lifestyle that's not Islamic, then we have to make sure that we're aware of that. And obviously, if that person chooses to live their life that way, then we wouldn't be able to encourage them to join or match them.
I think there's also the issue of, so men, I feel like men more so than women get encouraged to marry someone from back home so that they can support, extended family, etc. Do you think that plays a role in the reduction of the number of men there are in proportion for women?
I think there is, yeah, definitely. But as the British government tightens the reins on bringing people over, it's getting harder.
Yeah. Okay.
For people to do that, so that does make more sense for the girls that are born and raised in the UK, because they can't marry somebody from back home because he isn't able to come over here and work unless he's got a spousal visa, unless she's got a really good job. So overall, unless you marry somebody from an educated family back home or somebody with a profession, I think it'd be very difficult to marry for a girl to marry back home. And there is an element of in-laws looking to make things easier to marry someone, to marry their son to their own sort of cousin or their own Kala's or Popo's son, daughter back home. So you know what? I don't think there's a negative thing for it. I think there's someone for everyone. So I don't see the reason if somebody says, look, I'd rather prefer to get married to a girl back home, or goes to, at the end of the day, for me, it's more about the marriage and what's going to keep the couple happy. And if that's going to make him happy, that's what his preference is, then why shouldn't you do that? Everyone has the right to make their own choice.
Exactly. So what sort of advice would you give to women, or because I know sometimes young women can start to feel discouraged, especially if they've been looking for a while, and there's that sort of social and cultural pressure that if you're, past into your late 20s and you're still not married, you're doomed or something like that. So what sort of advice would you give to young girls, young women that might be going through something like that?
Okay. I would generally give advice to anybody, whether you're male or female, is to remember that marriage is a partnership, marriage is a compromise. And whether you're male or female, I do find a lot of people come forward and they're looking for a ready-made husband, what they want, and a ready-made wife, what they want. But what they realize is that marriage is not a commodity. You have to get to know somebody, and you have to learn to negotiate, and you have to learn to give and take within a marriage. And I don't even think it's so much even just the actual person. Maybe society or peers or parents might say, well, he needs to be earning this, or he needs to be driving this car, or he needs to be doing this, which is an awful lot of pressure on a young man who's maybe just finished university and trying to find his feet, or trying to find a job. So I think basically when you're choosing a partner, there has to be that essence of somebody willing to work hard, whether you're male or female, to make that relationship work, and somebody who is a responsible person. So I don't think it's right for someone who's, just because they're young, to get married if they don't feel mentally responsible to take on responsibility of a relationship, because along with that relationship comes the responsibility of in-laws and responsibility of husband and wife and children. And if you don't feel you're in that space, then you shouldn't take that on. But when you know you've got to that stage in life where you want a companion, you want to complete half your deen, you want to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by marrying someone who is pious and who's practicing, and you're getting married for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you'll do what's right by them because you fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that is a right mindset to go into marriage in.
Also, I feel like, so touching upon what you mentioned at the beginning, how sort of the older generation in comparison to myself or young Khadija here, arranged marriages were a lot more popular, whereas that's not the route that the younger generation like to go down today. And I know there's a lot of young people prefer to get to know their partner, who they're marrying, before they get, committed into it. How do you help them in terms of that? Because obviously, being Muslim, there are certain guidelines that you have to follow in accordance to Sharia law and in accordance to Islam. So how do you work around that, where two people sort of want to get to know each other before they commit, without obviously sinning, sort of, without meeting each other? How do you work around that?
Okay. Well, my background, I'm very honoured and pleased that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put me on the path that I went for my first Umrah over 20 years ago, and I've been blessed to go a few times, and I've done my Hajj. I went to, with Allah's blessing, I'm very, very blessed. I went to Glasgow University to do Islamic studies for 3 years, and I taught at the local masjid for 4 years. I was the Kalma Namaz teacher, and I shadowed the teachers that did the Seerah of the Prophet, peace be upon him. I went to uni when my kids were in high school to do my counselling and psychology, and I also went to Morton Institute to do my Islamic counselling. So all of that combined has helped me to build a program that people can get to know each other with third-person presence. So I've got a program, we have a step-by-step way of third-person presence throughout the whole process, so that, yes, you can sit and talk, you can get to know someone, and you've not broken any of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's laws. So that's one of the the things that we specialize in at Personal Match.
Wow.
And we take our clients through that process. And at no point, Allah Nakari, if they do communicate for a few weeks, a month or so, and it wasn't going to work out for them, they haven't broken any of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rules, so they know that they've got to know somebody in a halal way. It didn't work out, that's fine. Alhamdulillah, if they did get to know somebody in a halal way, and everyone's on board, families and everybody, alhamdulillah, on board, then we would encourage the nikah as opposed to an engagement, so that that couple can then officially be together, as opposed to third. Because obviously from the way that we work, there's always a third person present from the beginning, and they know that that's because they're not married. But obviously once the nikah is done, and even if it's not the actual day where they do the roti or the rukhsati or anything, instead of getting an engagement, we always encourage our clients to get a nikah done. And that way, you know, if he wants to pick her up to take her for dinner, or he wants to take her for a meal, or they want to go out for the day and do things while she's still living at her mum's and he's still living at her dad's, then they can do that because they had their nikah read. And then obviously how normally the Asian families do it is when they do the rukhsi, then on that day she'll leave and go and live with her in-laws. But prior to that, she'll stay at her parents' house. But obviously the nikah is read and the couple are free to communicate and go out and spend time in a halal way.
Amazing. So just to reiterate, you allow the couple to speak to each other with a third person, older present, but someone who's not listening in, so they have their privacy, but not so much privacy that they're completely alone.
Yeah. So for example, if one of my clients is taking a call, she can leave the dining room door open slightly and sit in the dining room where everyone else is in the living room chatting away. So they know she's on the phone. He knows her family's in the background.
Okay.
She knows my family's in the background, but they can still have a conversation.
Oh, cool. And you also always encourage them to do nikah rather than engagement, again because that saves the whole sinning issue. Amazing. So because I know a lot of young people feel afraid to do the nikah because it's so official. And then if they change their mind, they find it harder to go back because it is obviously so official. But I think
the thing is, though, if you're in communication with somebody for, let's say, 3 or 4 months, and you're calling, texting regularly, the families have met a few times, and everybody thinks that this is going well, then you have to do your istikhara and make dua and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is this the right decision for me? Because you can't keep on communicating with somebody forever and a day and you're not in nikah, because then that does fall into sin. So I have to make sure that my clients are staying on the right side of the deen and not falling into sin. That's very important.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. I think it's really important you highlighting that, especially for the younger generation, that especially because of the society that we live in and the culture that we live in, being British and Muslim, the British side of the culture is that, you know, people go out before marriage, before nikah, and they spend time with each other, they talk to each other, and that doesn't seem to be the norm for some of the younger generation. But I think it's important that you highlighted that it's not that scary. It is in accordance to Islam, and it is the right thing to do your nikah, rather than just, you know, carrying on getting to know the person for such a long time.
If you've communicated for the first few months and you've asked them all your important questions, then what comes the rough with the smooth is then part of marriage, is part of working it out. It's not saying, oh, well, I didn't know this about you, so I'm not going to remain married to you. That's not being responsible with your decision. So for me, I believe if you've communicated with somebody beyond a month, you are then seriously looking at marrying that person, because why are you still talking to that person then if you're not going to marry them? So what we do as well is that we've got communication going, and any of my clients say, oh, you know, but she hasn't really texted me back, or, you know, we haven't really spoke for some time. I'll monitor the situation on both ends, and if it's not moving forward to meeting parents within the first month of communication and all that kind of stuff, I'll shut it down myself and say, look, guys, obviously you're not in communication, so you don't want to take this further, so I'm going to close this down. I get them to block each other's numbers and move on and actually start meeting other people. So you can't be wasting anybody's time and saying, right, okay, I'm going to communicate with you when you don't have any, whether you're male or female, you don't have any intention of marrying that person. You can't continue to communicate.
Yeah, that's very true as well, because I feel as though marriage it is inevitable, and marriage is inevitable and everyone is gonna have to get married, and just doing the nikah sooner rather than later is a much like good is a really good step that you take to ensure
That you don't fall into
yeah
sin. Yeah.
yeah, and to take these precautions as well. And it's really nice to see that you've set up where making it easier for the younger generation to marry as well.
Yeah, it's very reasonable. It's we don't ask anything unreasonable. We just ask everyone to stick to the rules and the guidelines of the deen, basically.
Yeah, I think that's incredible, especially for so our young listeners. It's important that when you do go to a matchmaking site, that you do your research on who's established the site, who they are, what their sort of experiences, what their knowledge of Islam is. Like yourself, I feel like you've got you know a bucket load of Islamic knowledge as well, which helps you help
and link the two together. And
yeah,
then
exactly.
Make decisions based on that.
Yeah, I think that's so important. But it's nice to hear that young girls especially don't have to feel discouraged and get down about the fact that if they are struggling to find a partner, it's nice to hear the things that you've said, that they don't have to get down about it, and there are people out there to help.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Well, thank you so much for calling us today.
No worries, you're welcome.
I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy your iftar.
Oh, Jazakallah. What I'll do is I'll just leave some details of any of your listeners out there do want to ask any advice or support.
Sure.
You can have it put up on your website or wherever you leave information for your colleagues, your listeners. And what I would say to everyone that's listening, if you'll allow me to wrap up, if that's okay.
Yes, of course. For sure.
Is if in this month, if you give in sadaqah and make dua at the same time, whether you're male and female, whether you're a parent, whether you're a sister or brother, whether you're a cousin, and you really need a rishta for one of your family members, is given sadaqah, and at the time of giving sadaqah, make dua for a pious partner for that person, because Ramadan is a very powerful time to make dua for a pious partner, a pious marriage partner. The other thing I would recommend everybody out there does is start thinking about what you do as a person to make you more responsible. So how responsible are you? Do you help with the cooking and cleaning around the house? This is not just the girls, the boys as well. How much support do you give? Maybe you don't do the cooking and cleaning. Maybe you cut the grass or put the bins out or do some painting or whatever you do. You clean the car. It just do you do things that you take responsibility for? Because if you don't already have quite a responsible life, then you're not ready to settle down, because when you get married, you're going to be responsible for another person, and inshallah Allah blesses you with children, you're going to be responsible for children, and the jump is too big if you're not already responsible to get into marriage and then become responsible. You already need to be that person, so you're ready for the next stage in life. The other thing I would recommend is that if you are communicating with someone, you're in a WhatsApp group or something, put somebody in that's a brother or a sister from either side, and have a silent person in your WhatsApp group. So although they're not going to be reading the messages, they're not going to, hopefully they won't be online when you're online, but you know that when you're typing up your messages and he's typing up his messages, that you have an elder present, you have a responsible person present in that conversation, as opposed to directly speaking, and that keeps the third person present in your communication. So there's loads of things you can do. We provide counselling and support classes, life coaching classes for people to understand what kind of questions to ask, what sort of mindset to have. And if you would like our support, our website is www.personalmatchuk.co.uk. And as your colleague said earlier on, we've been running for 20 years as matchmakers. Professionally, we've been running for about 7.5 years. And in the 7 years or so, we've helped over 2,000 people get married with Allah Ta'ala's blessings. And we arrange about 150 couple meetings every month. So, for us, it's definitely about choosing the right person. It's not about getting to the finish line. It's about supporting that person and not using the big slipper as you're doing something wrong, but using halal methods to try and find people to get married as young as possible, so they enjoy their partner in their youth, as opposed to turning down rishta and getting married older. And another thing too, if you are in a rishta meeting, or you're in a position where you're considering a rishta, what we'd say that to help you is, remember when you're communicating, is to look at your blind self and how you're coming across. And the biggest thing to do, if parents are listening and elders are listening, is for them to be allowed to converse, but it has to be the rapport building. No one is going to, just because you're a doctor or you're a teacher or you're an architect and your family are pushing you to marry another professional, there's nothing wrong in that, because it means that the intelligence and the mindset is similar. But the main thing would be is not to talk about the job, is to talk about the personality. So if you can sit at your kitchen table and you can imagine this person sitting with you on a Sunday morning, just enjoying a lazy Sunday morning, and you've got things in common, you've trying to build that connection, then that's somebody that's possible to be a life partner for you. And you could sometimes put that person off by just asking the wrong questions, because in the Rishta world, we're taught to ask X, Y, Z questions. And my advice to anyone who's looking out there is, don't ask any questions. Try and just build a rapport, talk about your life, and just communicate, and try and communicate well, and show your qualities as a person, as opposed to asking 10 questions of that person that will then put them off, because they will reflect your personality on the questions that you've asked. If you do want something written up for you guys, we can pop an email over to you guys as well. So just general guidelines for people who want to look at the Islamic way or the halal way to get married. We're more than helpful, more than willing to do that. And of course, if you would like to use our service, the website is there. And please just click on our contact us, and one of my team or myself will give you a buzz back as well.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Hopefully enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully we'll be talking to you a bit more. If you like, you can pass your details on to me, and I'll hopefully be able to pass them on to our listeners.
No problem at all. And like I said, if you do want to do a question and answer session, now that we've managed to connect, I'm quite happy to answer any questions or any problems anybody has, and I'll try and give them the best solution for them, inshallah.
Amazing. So for those of our listeners, just to reiterate, if you have any questions, you can join us on Facebook Live, and write a comment, and then hopefully our guests will be able to answer some of your questions for you. Is that okay?
That's brilliant. Thank you. Listen, have a great Ramadan, girls.
Thank you so much. Thank you for calling.
And a fantastic Eid when it comes. Take care.
Amazing. Thank you. Wa alaikum salam. Right, listeners. So I think it's one of the things that she mentioned was having a third person present. From my limited knowledge of Sharia law and Islam, I'm not a scholar or anything, which is why I say limited knowledge. I mean, I do try. But I've heard, I don't know if you've heard this, but they always say when there's two people, a male and a female, alone together, they're not ever alone. Yeah. There's a third person in between. Yeah. Do you know who, not person, but do you know who the third
is? Considered that shaitan.
Shaitan, yes.
To tempt them, yeah.
Yeah, that's why it's really important. And I know a lot of the time people feel that they're mature and they can talk and they're not going to fall into sin. But again, shaitan is there between you guys to potentially lead you the wrong way. So it is important that you have a third elder presence between you when you're talking. I think we've got another caller. Yeah. Let's see who that is. Hello, caller. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you? Can I ask where you're calling from and your name?
My name is Razia and I'm calling from Hounslow, from West London.
Acha, amazing. How are you today?
I'm very well, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. What is it that you'd like to talk about in regards to our topic today?
So your topic is the, what's your topic? If you explain again, please.
So why young British Muslim women struggle to find a partner?
Yeah, so my viewpoint is because women or girls, they are more professional now. They are getting more professional education, becoming more, professional and well groomed. But the men, unfortunately, guys are not more into education. So they are more, in other like taxi driving or some other kind of businesses. So this is the one point. The second point is our both sides, men and the boy, both the girl side, they both are become materialistic now. They have become materialistic. A girl says she need a proper professional husband, 6 foot tall, unmarried, and should be very smart and must have his home, and he must not be more than 30-year-old.
Yeah.
So they are too demanding this. And the guys you ask, they want some Katrina or some Karishma Kapoor or something very slim, smart, 22-year-old. She must be doctor, professional, and she know how to cook as well, So many demand, too many unrealistic they are becoming because of this unrealistic and because of this, social media, too much show of all these type of things.
Yeah, definitely.
High expectations. Yeah. So the inner side, nobody is focusing on inner side, like spiritual side.
Yeah, definitely.
No, they are not tolerating each other, and even they got their ideal partner after just 3-4 months or maximum 6 months or 1 year, they divorced. They got everything from whatever they want, and then it just failed marriage because the lacking of your spiritual needs, your understanding, mental understanding. So this is they are following more West now. What is happening in West? Now it is happening in the Eastern culture. We were living in the West, or even it is in Pakistan or some Islamic countries. More divorce ratio is going on there.
Yeah, you do see this decline in marriage and this increase in divorce as well. That is really true, and
yes,
it is an issue which exists now as well. So
Yes.
So we should set. I really appreciate the topic and people. You are providing a platform to the people. Other people. You are the voice, of those type of people. They want to hear something, why they are stuck in their life. So there should be more events or kind of more workshops should be where we can, talk. It's not only once you started this radio. What will happen after this Ramadan radio? It will finish. So these things, should go more into the communities.
Yes,
should arrange once, everywhere some more events, invite mothers, parents, all daughters, guys, for this type of, like in English culture, they do in churches. They provide some sessions before marriage.
Yeah.
So they put, because in our mosque, it's not allowed. Social life is not allowed. This is another point. We are just allowed to say our namaz, Quran, and then go home. So there is no social interaction, to be honest, in our culture.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah,
I think social life, that is a misconception. Islam does teach you to have a social life. It's just culture which builds onto that, and culture tells you that you shouldn't have this social life. It should be stripped down to religion. Islam actually teaches us that we need to have a social life. You need these people to be surrounded by good people around you. You learn about suhbat in Islam as well, and that plays a massive impact and a massive role in decisions like marriage and other issues, other contemporary issues that exist today as well. So
yes, definitely. Okay, thank you so much. Yep, sorry to interrupt.
So I appreciate again your topic and your program, and mashallah, you are doing so well, so good, very good speaker.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate and bless you, and may Allah bless you more and more success in your mission.
Thank you so much for your comments today. Thank you for your appreciation. Please stay tuned in, and thank you so much for calling in today, Bajurazia.
Okay, thank you, Jazakallah, sister.
Jazakallah.
Okay, take care. Allah Hafiz. Thank you very much. You have a nice day, Allah.
Thank you.
That was a nice call.
Yeah, that was such a lovely caller. Thank you so much. I think
it took actual issues which exist, and it just spoke to them in a enlightening way. I think that all those issues she talked about, they do exist. Like we do as humans, we do, and I think media does play a role in these high expectations.
Yeah.
Like we do want this. You hear about the American dream, but it's more with marriage. You want this. You want this figure as your husband, or you want this beautiful figure as your wife.
Yeah.
But in reality, you can't get that.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, I think it has. it's more focused on a slightly materialistic and pretentious sort of level, where personality isn't considered an important aspect when looking for a partner, and neither is the spiritual side of it, which this is just my personal opinion, but I think when you are looking for a partner, if you first focus on the spiritual side of it, and how much Islamic knowledge they have, how practicing they are, it will help you. Because I mean, talking as a female, if I was looking for a male, and I know that he understands, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to help their wife in the kitchen. It makes your life easier, especially in this society, being British and being Muslim and being a woman. You have to juggle work as well as everything else as well, and home life. But I feel like it's unfair to put all that pressure on the woman. If the man's working, and the woman's considered to take care of the house and the children, fair enough, as long as you split it, or even if it's the other way around. But if the woman's working as well, the housework and the children have to be split. I think the man should help as well, and I think that's so important. Looking at the spiritual side of it, also, what Baji Razia was mentioning was about education. In line with national trends, Muslim women, I feel like, perform better academically than men. And this isn't my opinion. This is what statistics show. Even according to the Equality and Human Rights Commission's Flow Fair in Britain report, it was shown that Bangladeshi and Pakistani women are more likely to be employable than women, because I think the cultural pressure helps where they're achieving better academically, which obviously does in turn make them
to value education more as well. And it's statistically proven that women are outperforming men in these A levels, degree levels, and that plays a massive role in them in their later life, and it supports them when it comes down to marriage and looking for spouses as well.
It's because
they're
professional women
stable.
they're financially stable, and then professional Muslim women have an even smaller pool of intellectual and economic equals to choose from. Because if you look at men, they're more likely, talking on average, men in comparison to women are still more likely to choose someone who is slightly below them on an intellectual economic level. It doesn't seem to be much of an issue. I mean, some of you might disagree with me, and it is unfair to hear. It might even annoy some of you young women out there, I feel like, but it is true. Unfortunately, it is true. Men, this is why they say men are more likely to be encouraged to marry from back home, because there is a lack of education there, which means that women from maybe Pakistan, in comparison to someone who was born here and grew up here, might be slightly below on an economic level, on an intellectual level, and that means, whereas women, let's face it, in Britain, you have to, by law, you have to have an education up to the age of 16 anyway. That's the minimum. 18 now, is it? Oh wow, there you go. So you have to do your GCSEs and everything. You've got your college. Whether you choose to go to university or not, you still have somewhat of an education, you know. And women tend to choose, it's like Baji Razia mentioned, our caller, that women do tend to choose a partner who is either equal to or higher on an economic level and on an intellectual level. And then going back to our guest for today, Naseem Mohammed, who is a professional matchmaker from Personal Match UK, who said a lot of the time she gets men who aren't serious about finding a life partner, you know. It just highlights and sort of demonstrates that issue again.
Which exists,
so I think that plays a huge role in why women then are finding it more difficult to find a partner, especially if they're looking for someone who's on an equal level or higher. And statistics show that there's a smaller pool of that sort of type of man, I guess.
But I feel as though even though there are issues which exist now that are making it, and elements which make it harder for people to find, young people to find partners and stuff, there are, me being young, very young, I don't really know a lot about this topic, but I feel as though from previous times you do see these elements which now do exist, making it easier for women to also find marriage and find other stuff. Like we were just talking about the personal the matchmaking sites and stuff. We do see these more existing more as well, making it easier for people to find potential spouses.
Yeah, everything's on social media now, isn't it? And that can be a good thing and a bad thing as well. But it's like on social media, people post things to, let's face it, to show off. Like Baji Razia said, and like the older generation says. Yeah, but then if you're focusing on that, then when you look for a partner, you're gonna look for a partner that looks good on social media, that makes me look better, you know, when I post pictures and stuff like that. But then what about your daily life at home?
When it comes down to realistic stuff.
Exactly. If you don't connect on a personal level, on a spiritual level, you're going to struggle on a day-to-day basis. You're going to struggle in your daily lives. And I think it's important that we realize and the difference on what we're focusing on, and differentiate between focusing on what looks good in comparison to actually connecting with someone on a personal level.
But I feel as though that's all of this makes media plays a massive role in. And I think just say the previous topic we were talking about, illness, mental illness, every single issue which we encounter in life, I think.
Sorry, can you talk?
Sorry.
I hate doing that, you know. I hate interrupting people and being like, can you talk to one? I feel so...
I feel as though, every single issue which we encounter on a daily basis, media plays this massive role, and it's because of the way it portrays these different aspects, and it creates these ideas which society wants to keep the standards of living up to, and they want to
But how do you think media then plays a role in marriage and in finding a partner?
In finding a partner, it does provide opportunities as well, if you think about it. Like you see like Instagram mainly acts as a platform for people to start their own businesses and stuff, and you see these different networking sites as well, places as well, and it's easier to network and find
but then
people.
Is that a good idea though?
I don't know. Islamically, I don't think that's a great idea, and Islamically, the precautions which are put in place,
they're there for a reason.
Yeah, they're there for a reason.
They're there to protect you.
Yeah.
If you have, if you, for instance, if you're a young woman, let's just pretend you're a bit older because I feel uncomfortable talking about marriage because you're only 16. But if you're looking for a partner and you say you have your social media page for your business and you're networking and you connect with a male that you both connect and you're thinking about marriage and stuff, it's not a good idea to be talking, I think, just to be talking alone. It's always good to have a third person presence and someone who's older, someone who's mature, and it's there to protect you mainly, because if that person says something or anything could happen, you know.
That's why I feel as though it is actually, if you don't believe like words we say as well, it is actually statistically proven that arranged marriages last longer and they result less in divorces, whereas marriages which you see love marriages basically, where you pick your own partner, they tend to, most over 50% of the time, they result in divorces. And so you see this increase in divorce as well.
But there's also, I don't know, because you're 16 and I'm 23. When I was at school, girls I went to an all-girls school, and girls used to ask each other, oh, so when you grow up, would you have an arranged marriage or a love marriage? You know, I don't know if they still ask that. I don't know if it's even, I don't think your generation even consider arranged marriages. I think that's completely died down.
No, actually, I would disagree with that.
Really?
Yeah, I feel as though, because, well, I'm a student in Al-Minhaj Institute as well, and I'm linked with, I'm in Hajj al-Quran and everything. I hear a lot of my friends talking
I think there's
about,
a difference though between
I think it's knowledge,
because they have the Islamic knowledge. They're aware of the statistics that show the success rate of arranged marriages in comparison to love marriage.
It's because you trust your parents' judgment as well, I
exactly.
think.
In secondary school, with your friends who might not be, part of Al Minhaj Institute, might not be getting that sort of knowledge. What do you think their opinions are on that? I
think that is true. I think knowledge and the wisdom behind knowledge makes a massive impact on your decisions you make, and therefore the people who do not have this knowledge about marriage and stuff, they do choose and they do think it's easier and you would get along better with someone who you pick from your own choice, because they see this idea that you're picking the person, you're gonna get to know them better, you're making the decisions about them. It's what it goes back to is that image what you have in your mind, and it's you trying to fulfill that image. So you want to pick your own person as well. Yeah. And I feel as though that does play a massive role in it as well.
I guess that does make sense. I mean, if you know the person a bit more, then when you are married, you're comfortable with it. Whereas like if you don't know them and I don't like this about this person, you won't go into the marriage, and then it won't be so difficult, and it hopefully won't end in it breaking down. So I do think that makes sense. But you being from a really young generation, what do you think about why do you think arranged marriages are more successful in comparison to love marriages?
Why I think it's more successful. Mm-hmm. I feel as though I don't know much about this stuff again, but I feel as though when you're going through marriage and everything, you can't have, like, I know my sister always constantly talks about how when she sees people who have the same personality with her, you clash. And I feel as though that's very similar with marriage. If you have two people who have the same personality, you will clash over aspects most of the time, I think. But when it comes down, if you see two different people, you're learning as you go along when it comes down to arranged marriages. So I think when you're doing the learning process as well, it kind of makes it more easier, because you're adapting. You're not having this fairy tale idea. You're actually going through it. You're actually learning. You're actually taking the precautions. You're learning what this person likes, what he or she doesn't like. Whereas with love marriages, you've already done that.
Yeah, I think that's quite interesting. So, like, so the younger generation always focus on the older generation sort of making themselves more aware of our problems and becoming more interested in how we work and etc. I think it's also important that the younger generation look at the older generation, because from speaking to you right now, I feel like you lack slightly the knowledge of why arranged marriages work, and I personally don't know much about it as well either. But I feel like I know a little bit more than you, and it's the difference in mentality as the generations go on. So I think it's important that also the younger generation look up to the older generation in a sense that maybe we should be doing this, not we shouldn't be doing that. The reason I personally feel like arranged marriages work a bit more is because a lot of the times because they're arranged by the parents know each other. They could be relatives, they could be family friends, and that sort of that does sort of put a pressure on the guy to exercise his right of divorce, I feel like. Because imagine if you know the families know each other. As a male, I feel like at the first sign of trouble, you'll feel that pressure and you'll try to work through it a bit more.
You'll be hesitant
you'll be more hesitant. Also, I feel like there's an element of respect between the couple a bit more.
That is true.
In comparison to love marriages. I feel like the couple respect each other, and I think that's so important. I don't think the foundation for a successful marriage has to be love. I think fundamentally it's respect. Because if you respect each other and you get into an argument, you won't be too vicious. You won't say something, you won't go too far to the point where you can't take something back and you'll hurt the person to such an extent that, you know, it's gonna affect your relationship. That doesn't always work. Love isn't the basis for everything. It really isn't. And I think young people need to realize that. I say it like I'm not, like I'm so old, but
just actually think about this. I feel as though when it comes down to people in school and stuff, the reason behind them being so against arranged marriages, you could say, is because of this misconception between forced marriages and arranged marriages.
Yes,
and
definitely.
the two of them get mixed up a lot, where they're both complete opposites.
They are complete polar opposites, but
yeah, so
they
do you want to just explain the difference between the two first?
I don't know. Do you want to? I mean, I don't know if you guys are aware, but forced marriage is completely, let's say, is completely not allowed in Islam. So it's not allowed at all. And even when a nikah is happening, the, you know, Qari Sahaba, whoever is doing the nikah will ask the male and the female that,
are you sure?
Yeah, are you sure? Is this your opinion? Are you happy to go ahead? I think we've got another caller on the line. Let's just see who that is. It's probably a last call for the day. Hello, caller. How are you?
Hello, assalamu alaikum. I'm Sophia. I'm calling from London.
Amazing.
How are you girls?
We're good, thank you. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm actually doing my room up, and I was listening to you girls talking over the last hour or so.
Amazing.
Interesting topics.
Thank you.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, you've had quite a few good listeners calling in, especially like the ladies, the one that I think who's got her own business.
Personal Match UK, yeah.
Yeah. So I think just before I called you, I was listening to you guys talking about arranged marriages. Yeah. And all I just wanted to say was that I think whether it's arranged marriage or whether you sort of go and find your own partner, it's up to the person. Individuality.
Exactly.
I mean, some things suit other people better than others, and there's some people who do have a close-knit family and their parents and family do know them, and arranged marriage works for them. Other people may not have the links to find people. So I think also what's happening is, so I'm in my late 20s, a lot of people are going online to find a partner, whether it is matrimonial websites or apps now. And I think that's becoming a lot harder because it gives you a false sense of security, thinking, okay, there's lots of people out there, so I'll probably sort of find someone. So I think people's expectations also are changing because they think that they perhaps can find someone better, so they don't necessarily spend the time to sort of speak to one person and get to know them.
Definitely.
But I definitely do think arranged marriages work. And they've been going on since the beginning of time in all different cultures, not only in the Muslim community, in other communities as well. So I think the reason why it works so well is that people who are getting to know each other, they've had some sort of background sort of knowledge over the years, the person's characteristics, and know the people, and I suppose it's people feel safer that they can trust
that's a really
their daughters or sons to go into their families. But I don't know, I think sometimes also certain families, if they're quite traditional, and the more people perhaps a girl says no to, she might be labelled picky and things like that. Sometimes, sometimes girls don't want to sort of go and bring people, sort of keep viewing people if they're not sort of finding what they're looking for. But it definitely is. I find quite a few of my friends, I'm in my late 20s, going into 30s, are single, and I think that age group is getting sort of larger. I mean, more people in that age group are single. And sort of my niece and my family, who's has friends, and she's in her early 20s, they're getting married that time. So there is also that sort of thing that no one really talks about also, that there is a lot of ladies, really well educated ladies that have said no to people that they weren't sort of happy with, and now they find themselves single going into their 30s.
That's definitely.
And how do families deal with that?
Thank you so much for highlighting that point, especially about arranged marriages and love marriages suiting different types of people. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, I think it's that's a really good point, because I mean, I don't want you guys to think that I was forcing arranged marriages on you. I feel like that's what it sounded like. I just wanted to highlight the success rate of it for the younger generation, because I feel like they aren't. They're sort of forgetting that it can be quite successful.
I mean, when you talk about divorce rates, I think it depends on the individual and how they went into the marriage. If they're sort of two adults who they've got a different picture of how they want to live their lives, and they speak about it before they go into the marriage, if it dissolves later on, it's due to sort of perhaps miscommunication and things like that. So definitely, as more women are going to the workforce, you might find, if love marriage is what you mean, you might find through people from work, through university and things like that.
Definitely.
And definitely, it was what you said about people going abroad to get married. I do find that probably might be why there's less men on the market.
Less men on the market, definitely, yes.
Because they're going abroad more so than women. But if that's what but then again, if that's what they want to do and that's their preference, then if they find happiness, that's it. But I guess that's why you've got a surplus of women, really.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for calling in today. You highlighted some really interesting points for our listeners out there, so thank you so much. Best of luck.
It was lovely listening to you, ladies.
Oh, thank you. Good luck with doing your room up. I was in the process. I was in the process of doing my room up as well, but I had to stop because of Ramadan. I just couldn't handle it. So hats off to you for carrying on.
Sorry. Just before I leave, I just wanted to make one comment. I was going to call earlier. You talked about mental health. I don't know if you guys, because I stopped listening for a bit, you talked about how mental health, especially depression and things like that, are dealt with people in the religious community. Because I find with other diseases and conditions, you go to the doctor and stuff like that, whereas I find when it comes to mental, like depression and anxiety, it's more to do with your faith. You automatically assume that if you're depressed, you should pray more and have more faith, and that will fix it all. And they don't realise that it could be a chemical imbalance, or it could be stress causing it, and I feel like they brush it off. They brush it off as not a lack of faith, but perhaps you should try a bit harder. And sometimes when you're in that position and you're really sort of low, people have difficulty going out the house. So I think the community could be a bit more encouraging and have mental health facilities at mosques and stuff like that, and the imams perhaps do khutbahs and talk about the fact that it affects men and women, and they do a bit differently. Women might talk to their friends, and men might bottle it up, turn into anger and various other forms. So I just thought, especially with it being Ramadan, like if you do know someone who's down, instead of sort of saying, chin up, get over it, it will pass, pray more, just take a moment or two just to sort of ask them what they could do or what you could do to make it better for them.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for highlighting that as well. I feel like people do need to hear that. That is important. And I think what you mentioned about maybe it goes hand in hand with what Bajuradia said about another one of our callers. I'm not sure if you heard, but about the lack of social activities within mosques and stuff. I think it's important. I think it's important to help us and stuff as well. Definitely,
it affects everyone. From people in schools, being disease with expectations, to elderly people as they get older and less mobile and less sort of. I suppose it's harder for them as well, and they're more prone to depression. So I work in healthcare, so I do see people don't talk about it enough, and today's busy. Although you might live with your family or your grandparents, you might not see them or talk to them as people once did. And I think that lack of communication is not. It could be better, really. That's all.
It could be better. Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, I'll let you guys go. Hopefully the rest of your talk, I'll be carrying on listening.
Thank you.
Have a great Ramadan.
Thank you. You too. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
That was a really nice call. I love the point on how it exists in mental illness, actually going back to mental illness, how it exists in both men and women. Yeah, and how you see how she talked about how also you have this, how men are expected to not let out their emotions within society.
Yeah.
And that has a massive, that results in mental illness because they have to, they know they have to hold it in. And holding up and bottling up this emotion it's inevitable that it would result in mental illness.
Yeah,
and
or something
think,
like anger, or
Yeah, so I love that point that she made as well.
Yeah, I like the fact that she said we should have imams giving khutbahs on stuff like this, because they're people of knowledge, Islamic knowledge, and Islam always helps us within our daily lives, and it's important that we talk about it, but also receive the Islamic side of knowledge on how to deal with things like this as well. And I feel like there's a solution to pretty much every single problem
in Islam
in the Quran Majid. Yeah. So I really like that point, actually. Hopefully we can do something like that in Minhaj al-Quran. There is, for those of our listeners who aren't aware, there is a Sharia law service that Minhaj al-Quran provides. So in terms of even marriage advice, nikahs, divorce, hullas, anything like that, there is a service provided by Minhaj al-Quran if you need. So do look into that. They do provide a service. I think it's actually time for us to wrap up. Thank you so much to all of our listeners who called in today. Stay tuned in. Also, don't forget to donate to our for our Ramadan FM
FM license.
Sorry,
mine went blank there.
My mind just went totally blank there for a second. So if you guys, they've got a challenge going on, actually. Did you know about it?
I think I just heard a bit about it.
Yeah, so if you donate, if we get someone to donate £1,000, I think, before the weekend ends or something, they're gonna get brother Ismail, brother Ish, to do a challenge with please excuse me, I've forgotten the name, but it is a personal trainer or something. I think so, yeah.
To lose weight, isn't it?
I don't know, but it's a challenge. And do you know what? I think that's so that'll be so fun to see.
Yeah.
So please do donate in. It was I think the challenge was if they get two people to donate £1,000 each, and they've already got one person to donate. So call in to, I think our hotline is 07840 551 119. That's 07840 551 119. Or you can always call into the studio to speak to any of our presenters. The studio number is 0333 011 6786. That's 0333 011 6786. This is all in aid of a good cause, to provide a platform for other, not just British Muslims, but anyone else within the community, and also to help the younger generation, maybe to aid them with their public speaking, provide them with experience. So it's all in the name of a good cause. So definitely do donate and help us reach our goal, and stay tuned in to see Brother Ish. Do you know what? I feel a bit sorry for him, but it'll be interesting. Better him than me, I guess. It'll be really fun. So do donate in and help us with our cause. Stay tuned in for our last Cafe Nisar show that will be next Sunday, again between 2 o'clock till 4 o'clock. And inshallah, enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your iftar tonight, everybody. And we'll see you again next week, inshallah.
And a massive thank you to all those callers that called in today.
Yes, thank you. It was so nice to interact with all of you guys and hear your opinion and everything. So thank you for all of that. Inshallah, see you next week. Jazakallah and Allah Hafiz.